I used to be an F1 student. For me, the only way to generate an income was to compete for those dumb jobs on campus. I couldn't, as far as I understood, I couldn't legally declare business or freelance income. This created artificial unemployment, wage stagnation, and just excess competition at the bottom, which would have not existed if I was able to fully participate in the US economy, in which case I would have chosen to run a small business or produce freelance income because I'm not a slave minded individual. I don't believe in working jobs. And also the fact that I'm just more capable. Now, the problem is, I wasn't the only foreign student. Most foreign students in the USA, especially those on scholarships, are generally some of the most intellectual and the most intelligent people on earth, and the US attracts these people from all over the planet. And these people are by default, sometimes as a freshman, as sophomores, these people are more spiritually and intellectually abled than 99% of the US population. They are already smart enough to run their own companies, run their own businesses, but they put up with the system for long enough to obtain a green card. They're basically playing the long game. They would, after graduation, get a job in the US until they get a green card. Then they start their own businesses or do whatever they actually want to do. But in the process, they create so much imbalance in the US economy, so much disharmony. The solution to this is not to ban immigration forever, because immigration is what allowed a nation that was founded in 1776 to become one of the most productive nations on earth within 200 years. Right? Germany has always existed. India and China and Japan have always existed. There is no point in known history where these places were inhabited or nobody lived there. In fact, even in ancient history, China was an advanced nation, and so was India. But this is not the case with the United States. The United States is a very special country, right? And all of this have been accomplished just within the span of 2 centuries, right? Because of immigration. Without immigration, us snowy mountains are just snowy mountains. They don't become villages and productive cities, industrious nations, just because they are snowy mountains, right? A place full of sand doesn't just magically become Dubai. It has to be turned into Dubai. Natural resources are actually worthless without human capital. Human capital is the only capital actually that matters. If, say for example, the planet Mars or Moon, chances are these places are full of natural resources, but they don't have electronic vehicles, they don't have internet, they don't have a car or spacecrafts or solar panels because they don't have humans. Humans are the greatest resource on earth. So immigration is not bad at all. The problem exists in the US only because they take immigrants that are some of the best people on earth, some of the most talented people on earth, and pit them against the average and below average people of the United States. If immigrants go there and are allowed to declare business and investment income, there is no reason for them to be flipping burgers. In which case, they wouldn't be creating artificial competition for people of average and below average intellect. In fact, those people would start to love immigrants if immigrants are allowed to set up businesses, or students, foreign students are allowed, or even H-1B workers are allowed to to show to declare business or investment income. That would turn them into an asset from a liability. At this moment, they are a liability. If a master's in chemistry is flipping burger, that person is a liability. That person is not working at his full potential and therefore is not earning at his full potential and therefore is not investing, consuming, or hiring people. So if I were the president, and this is where the lesson in leadership begins, if I was the president of the United States, I would make sure that if there is a master's in chemistry, that person is designing polymer material that is lightweight and ultra strong to be used in spacecraft construction, or that person is at least cleaning water bodies and removing microplastics and turning into fuel, or at least uh, converting municipal waste into fuel. When there are a million usages for uh, masters in chemistry, the worst of all is flipping burgers and unfairly competing against a 15-year-old who hasn't finished high school. Right? So, as a leader of a company, a nation, or a family, you have to ensure that everyone, every unit, every team member is producing or is contributing to his highest capacity. Like if I was the president, as I said, I would take 5 students from Brown University, Princeton University, or these any of these top universities, if they are of international origin, and are top quality, and I would send them to dying remote villages or just backward ass towns that have a deflating economy. I believe that within 5 years, 5 of these randomly chosen individuals would rejuvenate those cities. So technically, the United States right now has enough intellect that it can not only rejuvenate those towns but get them popping in just 5 years. So that's how these individuals can be utilized. Making them flip burgers or creating a system where the only way they can generate income is by taking jobs that are severely overqualified for is just creating excess pressure and stress for middle class Americans. Now, from the perspective of employers, it actually kind of makes sense because they get to hire somebody who's super talented, import quality labor at the cost of hiring an average American. But this is not how people are looking at it. They don't get it. They think the problem is immigration when the problem is disharmony. The problem is an imbalance. There is an imbalance within the system, within the labor pool, within the supply and demand for labor. If these foreigners come in and function as investors and business owners, then the whole system changes. Like, imagine if foreign NBA players had to first get a green card to play in the NBA. They would just spend a decade working a 9 to 5, exhausting themselves and creating artificial wage stagnation and competition for middle class Americans. So now people love Joker from Serbia, but they would have hated him if he was not able to contribute at his peak potential.